Pardon me? Welcome to Wednesday, February 12th, Calvert County Water District meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
Director Cicada?
Here.
Director Thomas?
I'm here.
Director Underhill?
Here.
President Davidson?
Here.
And Director Radaman is absent today.
So the meeting ought to go fast. Okay, second item on the agenda is public comment. This time, members of the public may address the board on any non-agendized item. Public is encouraged to work through staff to place items on the agenda for board consideration. No action be taken on matters not listed on the agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Any public comment?
Feedback.
Yeah.
Don't take all that reverb.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's kind of messed up right now. We got a little echo going.
All right, let me mute the mic and come back in.
I actually right now. Maybe it's me.
Okay, hello?
Go ahead.
There you go.
Who's on there?
Mike.
Hey, hi Jeff, Mike Rogers, Valley Springs. I had hoped to see something about hydrants on the agenda. Perhaps that's a future agenda topic. I know it was raised and seems to be top of mind in a lot of areas around the state based on what's going on down south, but just would like to better, and I know Damon covered this topic briefly a few months ago, so I know he's probably on it, but just curious what the plan is for testing. Do we have testing data that shows, for example, how many hydrants have been tested over the last 5 years over the total population? How many hydrants are, say, disabled or out of service, that kind of thing? Is that data readily available?
Well, once again, it's not agendized, but I actually was going through paperwork today, and I think we had a pretty thorough discussion of this in August that everybody was invited to. And we, all that information is available, but maybe we can add it to an engineering committee meeting. But we did invite all the fire chiefs in the county here. We talked about our maintenance program, the AB transmission line, the benefits of that. So it's been pretty thoroughly discussed, but that doesn't mean we can't revisit it for those that didn't attend that meeting.
Yeah, it might, a lot's happened since August, so it wouldn't be a bad idea to kind of cover that again if possible. So thank you very much.
All right. Francisco, is that you?
Yes, sir. I'm just following up on my request for an agendized item on non-revenue water statistics. I know that there's some regulations that came into play 1/1/25, and I'm curious to understand what specific actions the district has taken in response to those new regs, but more importantly, what we're doing to get our handle around non-revenue water losses.
Okay.
So when can we see an agenda item on that? I guess is my bottom line.
I think I'm not certain when or if we're going to, clearly we'll comply with any regulation that is put before us.
Yeah, I'm
So
talking
that's what we're going to do.
Yeah,
That's what we'll be doing about it. We will comply with it.
I'm talking transparency. One of the things that the regulations talk about is making data available to the ratepayers, and that's what I'm following up on.
We do periodic updates on that topic. We'll be bringing it back, I'm sure, before too long, but I don't have a specific date.
Hopefully soon. All right, anything else?
Not at this point.
Okay, great. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Does that conclude the public comment? Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. The following items are expected to be routine, non-controversial, that be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member may request that an item be removed. Related discussion, 3A, approval of minutes for board meeting January 29th. 3B, review the director's timesheets for January 25. 3C, ratify claim summary 635. 3D, approval of concurring nomination for Melody McDonald of Aqua JPI Executive Committee. 3E, approval of concurring nomination of Chris Caffin to the Aqua JPI Executive Committee.
Pull 3C for one question.
Okay, are there any others? Can I get a motion for 3A, 3B, 3D, 3D, and 3E?
Second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Director Adams out of the meeting, right?
Okay,
Okay.
on page 4, all the way down at the bottom, we're going to Potrero Hills landfill for our biosolids disposal. And it just blows my mind that, I know that we had been going somewhere else and they obviously got full.
Yeah, that was many years ago. So, the local county landfill set biosolids, but
Right.
many years ago, that changed. It's been going to Colonel ever since.
Oh, was it? Why is it hit me today, Potrero? Okay. And so I got into a discussion about biosolids and maybe, we can be discussed at another point, but there are many places where they don't have land to dispose of their biosolids and they have to transport them and everything. Have we ever done any studies on what other agencies or other countries do with their biosolids? It's a big deal these days. I know.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
There's a lot to impact associated with biosolids. Yes. The district has options. Consider many of those options. And I think one thing to consider in the future is there a way to classify those biosolids that treat it with makes it less concern?
The reason we can't take them to our landfill is they're not dry enough.
Yeah, they're not considered what's called Class A biosolids, which is basically inert. They're not inert. So there's still a concern there, a health concern associated with our biosolids. So that's what I was saying. One of the obvious things that we can do here in the future is look at making them inert, and then that changes the game. So
That-
we can go what we
Yeah,
do.
that is what I,
Is there also a chance that the West Point plant can burn them?
That's a possibility.
Although if Greg Stengel were here, he would say they don't burn.
Yeah.
What do they do?
They heat to 1,000 degrees Celsius in a no oxygen environment to extract the hydrogen gas from the biosolids.
Yeah.
It's called something besides that.
My knuckles rapped many times by saying
Get that
burn.
technical term.
yeah, we're taking that word out of our vocabulary. Is that it?
Gasification.
Yeah.
Gasification. There you go.
Uh-huh. Okay, so that we are, looking at that and whether or not whenever we can get a solution that.
Yeah, this is kind of a ho-hum topic that I think.
Oh,
No, I'm just kidding. I mean, no, absolutely, yes. It's an ongoing conversation. Absolutely.
well, when we get some action rather than conversation.
Well,
I'd be-
we've sought grants over the years. It's a countywide problem. We're not the only agency
Yeah,
in the
right.
county that has it. We've looked at regional facilities in the past and we
Yeah.
just haven't been able to, figure out how to fund it.
Okay, so we got another look at it, so let's. Okay, all right, thanks.
Does that satisfy your
Yes. my
concerns? You want to give
question.
me a motion for 3C then?
Yes,
We have a motion by Director Underhill.
yes.
Second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Is there public comment?
Yes, sir.
Go.
On the subject that was just voted on, I had some interaction with Damon regarding PFAS contamination through distribution of waste, taking it to Porterville. And it's an unresolved issue. It's a going concern, et cetera, and it's going to bite us in the where if we let it get away from us. So I'm hopeful that those efforts to address PFAS and other contaminants in the wastewater effluent is addressed. But that was on one issue. On the trip reports that the directors have submitted, there are a lot of trips, a lot of meetings, but very few formal report outs. So how does the public get to benefit from these trips that directors go to and attend and then come back and say nothing at the meetings of any major substance other than, you know, well, we saw this, we saw that, but I'm having a difficult time understanding and supporting all of these organizations that we're members of, that we attend meetings to, and never hear much meaningful feedback of here's how it benefited us, here's why we're there, here's what we're going to do, here's what we're trying to do. I mean, I can't attend every meeting, but at some point it should be available somewhere. Could a written report be submitted and posted on the website and let that be like the trip report that directors do, or is that asking too much?
I brought this up not too long ago, that we should have a little bit more in writing and posted. I think what he just suggested would be potentially easier, just a paragraph or
Okay,
something,
well,
I don't know.
Everybody has the ability to, during director comments, to, and I believe that we do that on the meetings that we attend. And so if you want to do something different, then I think everyone's welcome to, but we've already passed that agenda item.
Shall we bring it back on another agenda to talk about that policy and how we want to do it?
We could certainly look at that policy. I believe it does ask you to report out, but I think that the board complies with that. But if you want to do it better, then I think everyone's welcome to do however they want. So anyway, back to 3C. Should we vote again on that? Is there any difference in all those in favor of 3C after the public comment, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, new business, discussion action regarding acceptance of advanced metering infrastructure, AMI project.
Yeah, thank directors. I'm a little hoarse today, but so this presentation is on the completion of the district-wide advanced metering infrastructure project, or commonly known as AMI. So the project replaced all of our manual read meters with AMI meters that automatically read the meter through the data collectors. So building an entirely new network from the ground up was more challenging than initially envisioned. Its most challenging topography was in the Eves Pass, but with the network, we routinely read 99% read success rate, which exceeds the industry standard. So we built a robust network. We had a high level of redundancy in the network. It's over 80%. So in the event that one of the collectors or repeaters goes out, we could reroute the meters to still collect the data. Some things that kind of affect some of the reading of the meters, if the meter box gets flooded, but none of that data is lost. It just comes back once the situation dries out. So staff's able to access all the online information from these meters through our online Centrix portal, where they can monitor leaks, backflow conditions, high flows, and other alerts. So the information that comes through Centrix also gets pushed out to our MMS system and also Tyler for billing. So Mueller provides a network operating center where they continuously monitor our network and host all our information. So if an issue arises, we have the ability to call Mueller and they can help assist us with any problems we have. So this comes with an ongoing subscription fee that we have to pay for the life of the project, which comes out to about $3 per meter per year. And that's adjusted yearly with the cost of inflation. So many of these data collection devices that we have as part of the project are solar powered. The solar systems were designed by district staff, and they were over designed to ensure that we don't have any interruptions during low light conditions and snowstorms. So and Mueller provided training and maintenance, or training on the maintenance of these data collector devices to our electrical staff. So they're trained on troubleshooting all the network equipment. And they can still also contact the NOC or the Network Operations Center if they have problems. It's very important that we maintain this project for the life of the project. We recommend that going forward, the district sets aside a certain amount of money on a yearly basis to test these meters, replace the meters, and maintain the AMI network. So talking with Mueller, they kind of recommend in about 3 to 4 years from now that we set up a meter shop. This meter shop will help us maintain the system and kind of eliminate the need for this wholesale replacement of meters that we had during this project. So I think that's really important that we need to kind of have a really good game plan going forward. So the original cost of the project, the bid from Mueller was $3.9 million for the AMI, with the network and the meters. There was some initial cost that came up from the original bid, and that was adding the AMI to the Evans Pass service area that was originally
Right.
deemed as a drive-by network. So and then also the original contract only had the residential meters and the up to 1 inches meters. So we added the large meters to the project. And then we also had a change order to replace all broken shut-off valves. And some of the meters didn't have shut-off valves. So the contractor went in and made sure we had shut-off valves on both sides of the meters. We replaced the broken meter boxes. And we also purchased spare meters and spare network equipment so that we have enough to maintain the network and the meters for the foreseeable future. So that all came up to a total contract with Mueller for $4.5 million. So that's kind of my presentation. I don't know if anybody had any questions. We were going to go into more detail at the engineering committee on this project. So
I have a couple questions.
Go.
On the $3 per meter, we have roughly what, 13,000, a little less, a little more.
Yeah.
But the service agreement is with Mueller. Is there any other contractors that you could potentially contract with to monitor that might be cheaper than $3 instead of getting it from where we bought it?
yeah, it has to be hosted on their network, their network operations centers. They maintain it. It's really the only option we have.
Mhm. And that, in that subscription, that only is monitoring the network and fixing the network if it fails to communicate, or is
So
it
yeah,
also?
so there's a problem with one of the collectors. They go in and reroute the meters around to different repeaters and collectors so we can get the information. They also will, if there's any problems, they identify a network, they'll notify us.
And who fixes the network?
We have to fix the network. They have opportunities to have a service agreement that you can purchase through Mueller,
But
it didn't.
you don't have the option to look to see if you have any meters that aren't working. I mean, do we have to pay somebody almost $40,000 a year to say it's broken? You wouldn't know that. And then in addition, still have to go fix it ourselves. It's like if they could fix the network for that price, I think that would be a better use of funds, but
And
you know.
they also host our network and all that stuff. So if we had an on-site network, which is available from other meter manufacturers, it takes a huge computer, a full-time IT guy to monitor the network. Maybe not full-time, but it takes a lot of bandwidth and you get a lot of benefit out of these experienced people and be able to have it where our guys can call them if they got problems. Is kind of how these systems are set up. There's not really an alternative.
So it's pretty much like any other program we have. We have that annual cost that we have no control over that we
Yeah.
have to use, you know, like Tyler and everything else. Yeah, it'd be nice to take those things into consideration when we approve things like that, you know.
So
Maybe we have-
more employees.
Pardon me.
That's what you want, more
But
employees.
that was part of the
No.
original agreement. That is,
But it's just one of those things, you know, we think we're gonna be so efficient and all this, and it's gonna cost this much money, and then it's like, oh, that's right, we need a boom truck to get to these things, or, you know, additional people to do that. Anyhow, it just, you know, like that gift that keeps on giving in a backwards way, though. Anyhow, I
agree.
know we need it, it just,
I'm curious about what we're penciling in for the annual checkup, okay? Because what is it, 131,000?
Yeah, so you have these, there's a lot of network devices, there's some battery powered meters that will need to be replaced, as time goes on, and there's the meters, they don't last forever depending on the water quality. So you do there's a program that we need to implement where we test a certain amount of year to year. There's a grace period after you first install the meters, you don't have to do the testing because they're new. But as time goes on, you're required to do testing.
No, I understand that. So what kind of money are we talking about for this annual? We have
Well,
to have.
I mean, if you're gonna, eventually you probably want to replace like 1,000 meters a year in order to keep up with the process, or 1,500 meters a year. So instead of getting a project 15, 20 years down the road that costs $15 million, you can hire some in-house people that are more efficient. You can kind of periodically target areas that have maybe the worst water quality, or the areas that have the most problems with the meter. You start working on those first, and you work your way through it so you can maintain your water loss and all that kind of stuff. So there's a process to it. The managed meter system is, most agencies have a meter shop that does this kind of work. So that's my recommendation, but I mean, obviously it's gonna be the operations kind of side of things here going forward.
I want to remind everybody, we used to have 2 full-time meter readers?
Yeah, and this is, I mean, I think what Kevin's describing is something we can contemplate over the next several years, but is, good. It's just good practice to do that so we don't end up in the situation where we were, a few years ago with a bunch of meters that were underreporting or not reporting at all, and we had to, go district wide and replace them all at once.
I'm just curious what the annual projected budget will be. That's what you were asking
That was my.
for what you just talked about, which we obviously need, and the subscription. Are we looking at, $300,000 a year now? The gist of that would be replacing any broken meters and make sure those costs. But I'm just wondering, do we have an idea?
Yeah, we can do it. I mean, over the next couple of years, we can take to the engineering committee and kind of give us suggestions on how we can handle this.
So what you're talking about doing is phasing in a replacement plan
Yeah.
of, say, 10% a year, and starting with the areas that because we know when one of these meters is not working. We didn't know before, and we have, people that are talking about, unreported water. Well, those meters were a huge part of the unreported water. I mean, we weren't necessarily getting the most accurate figures. We know when these meters don't work, but we find out shortly. So we'll be able to pinpoint those areas, come up with a budget that is going to say it's 10%. So in 15 years, we'll start cycling through these things each year, and hopefully we can. I mean, I don't know why our guys can't install these meters. And the other part is, the technology will most likely change in that period of time. I mean, so in 20 years, we may have a whole different metering system, that is better.
Prior to the AMI, we budgeted roughly 50,000 a year for meters, just for meters. So currently, the operations budget is proposing $10,000 for meters.
Nice.
So it's like 40,000 reduction in actual physical meters. And then when you think about the network, it's roughly what, $40,000.
Yeah, so you're back to 50,000.
So it's kind of like this.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So we
Right,
spent
it would be also,
4 million to spend the same amount of money.
Well, but we have a
most likely
whole
we will,
much,
but
we have a
it'll be
much
over a
better
period of
output.
time planned, as opposed to, upon failure. I mean, we shouldn't have gone that long.
Well,
But I think it'd be interesting, when we continue to have this discussion, let's talk about the money we've saved, or that we will save.
Yeah.
Because everyone wants to talk about the
Right.
money that we're gonna have to pay to keep it operating, but what were we paying in gas and travel and payroll and all those other things? That was hundreds of thousands of dollars. So,
Right, and I think too, the other huge potential savings here is, now that we have much better data, we have a much better chance of actually complying with our water use efficiency targets and avoiding potentially significantly, very significant costs for infrastructure that may not have been necessary because it was really just attributable to bad data. So there's huge benefits from this project.
Okay, go ahead,
The
Cindy.
the other benefit is that the customers can see pretty much real time, right? So that was huge.
Most,
Okay, there, just one last thing, and that's the fact that, it says something about the project has not reached, the max, and we still have, 1 million in grant funding.
Yeah, so we talked to the USDA about installing flow meters and pressure sensors in our system, and there's an opportunity to use that. We've discussed that in the engineering committee for the different ways we can spend that money. So we're looking into that.
And that'll help the big picture, right?
Yeah, we can kind of track the flow of water, and optimize the system using both the meter data and the information we get from their pressure sensors and hydrants, or clay valves can be outfitted with flow meters, that type of stuff. So there's some opportunities that the USDA said we could use some of that money to purchase some of these items.
Okay,
So
Go
we're,
for it,
we're still
yeah.
working on that. But yeah, that's gonna be more to come on that.
that's it, go ahead. Okay.
Kevin, last time you were here presenting to us, you were just an engineer. Now you're the district engineer.
He's stealing my thunder, Thomas.
Thank you.
Congratulations. So,
That announcement is coming, yeah.
So save our
Let's do it, let's
applause.
do it.
but it says right here, district engineer. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
as such,
Right.
he has a lot more credibility now. So
Right, right,
you
right.
think we ought to vote affirmatively
Uh,
on this
I
proposal?
think actually, on the contrary, he's now more able to handle the tough questions. So go ahead, fire away.
I hadn't thought about the simultaneous degrading of 13,000 batteries on these meters. I mean, did anybody ever ask Mueller, whether these are subject to like a high volume meter is going to degrade quicker than a low volume meter?
Yeah. Yeah, it depends on how many, so that's why we try to just send out the signal once a day, because every time it sends a signal out, it uses a little bit of battery. So, I mean, the batteries can be good up to 24 years.
Oh,
So, they warranty them up to, so the first 10 years of full replacement if the battery goes bad. From 10 years to 20 years prorated on the battery. So, like, we got, I think, 40 or so meters that have had problems, and so we're gonna return those and we get free replacements on those. So.
I'd check that off your list of words about it.
Will the batteries work underwater for that 10 years too, or is that not
we
part
can
of it?
revisit that.
Yeah,
Good motion to make you the president. You know what?
Our district engineer's trying to say something.
When the meter's underwater, they don't transmit, but as soon as it dries out, then it transmits. So,
Oh, that's,
so like down at Pocket 10, we have some flooding in some of the meter boxes here. So we have late reads and they eventually come through.
but I really want to shine a light, so to speak, on the value that these meters will present or will give us, to satisfy Francisco's desire to have dependable and transparent reporting on water loss. And I don't think that we could hope to get that kind of dependability on the statistics without these meters. And I'm looking forward to being able to in the future to make sure that we don't have water losses that are beyond normal, usually customary expectations that you can't really avoid. But anyway, I've seen these the batteries. They have two little wires that go down and they plug in the side of the meter. You don't have to replace a whole meter if the battery goes bad, do you?
Yeah, the register has the battery in it. So normally you replace the whole body, but I guess in the future, if you wanted to do, you could take the register off the top and replace it with another one. But typically you want to, as they get old, you want to replace the whole thing.
Oh, I don't think either of us will be here when we have to start replacing meters if they're guaranteed for 24 years. Wow.
Nice.
Maybe you will be.
I doubt it.
Okay. All right, that's
Anything
all.
else from the board?
No, thank you.
All right, I see a couple hands up. Francisco, you want to go?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Kevin, congratulations. We saw the announcement on the thing, so congratulations on your new role and responsibilities.
Thank you.
Question, because of the various different sites that we have, water treatment, et cetera, what kind of a hydrological model do you have to model the district distribution system? Because that's one of the things that these AMIs will allow you to do, is to simulate your distribution and try to identify where your weak points are.
Yeah, so we have DMAs, which are distribution areas within the Centrix model. So on our system, we can go group meters together that are one distribution system. And so we can compare the water that we made to the water we used.
Cool. And then on the actual DMAs, you're going to be using that to manage the loss and all of that. I understand that. Now, Mueller has been around for a while, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There should be a lot of statistics out there to contrast and compare other agencies. Do they publish that sort of stuff on their life cycle stuff? Do they have standard deviation curves and all that stuff for the various meter models that they supply us, or no?
no, so they don't provide us data from other water agencies. Is that what you're asking?
Well, just their meter longevity there. It's related to the meter life cycle that they should have, from all their customers. Since they're the NOC, they know where every meter is doing what and what's being replaced, et cetera. So they should have some very, very reliable statistics on life cycles and replacements, et cetera. And they don't need to identify the agency, but they could do it by model number if it's, if it's germane to our installation. Do we have access to any of that?
No, I don't have any information on the what other agencies have as far as what meters they've replaced, but I mean, Mueller's a very well respected company, and they Hersey is the brand of meters that's been around. Hersey is actually the oldest brand of meters in the whole world, in the whole country, so they've been around longer than anybody else.
Okay. Now, I'm still having issues with my consumption data, and I know Damon's talked to the NOC, and I know that they refocused the node and all of this and all of that. Where are the boundaries between Mueller, Centrix, and Tyler, and where's the breakdown?
So the raw meter data comes from Mueller into Tyler, and then they process it within Tyler. So that's how it works. That's how
So
we
how come it's not working for my meter in particular? Because I don't get any data.
I don't know the details on your meter, but I know that Damon's been working with you.
I understand, yeah.
So I can have him answer that.
So the last time that Francisco and I worked on his meter information through Mueller, the Mueller NOC essentially said, your meter's reporting, Francisco, the information is being conveyed out of the system. So the next step is just to determine whether or not it's making it to Tyler, and it's not making it to Tyler, to determine why or how. Or if it is making it to Tyler, then what's the next step? But your meter's communicating, and we can ping your meter, we can see what your usage is. It's just not necessarily being conveyed all the time. This is kind of an intermittent issue that you and I talked about. And one thing we also looked at, and Kevin talks about how robust the network is, the topography of where you're at. Perhaps there's an opportunity to grab a hold of another collector or point your meter or refocus some of this infrastructure towards your meter.
Are there, Francisco, do you know if anybody else on that side of the hill? Because you are on the opposite side of the hill at the very end of the system. Because, we extended a few lines out to Hillview or whatever. But do you know if any of your other neighbors are having issues, or do we know? Because you know what I'm saying? I know where that, he's on the opposite side of the hill. It's at the very end of the system. And do we have something that can read over the top of that hill?
We feel like we do. We do have equipment that can read over the hill. I'm not hearing of any of Francisco's neighbors, but I don't talk to them directly about the fact that whether or not they're experiencing issues.
Excuse me, Dan, but but you've established the fact that the meter is talking enough to be read for billing purposes. What I'm sensing is that there's some sort of interface problem between either Mueller Centrix or Centrix Tyler. Because if the data is being captured and reported in to the point that the NOC can see it, then the failure point is later. And I would think that you have some participation numbers from the Tyler side, right? Because Kelly mentioned that the people that signed up were over 40% or higher than the national average. It would seem that you'd be able to tell from all of that, of the 13,000 and change meters, how many of them are actually getting data all the way to Tyler and a customer can see consumption.
We're focusing on an individual meter here. My suggestion would be we continue to follow up with Francisco offline and wrap up the agenda item. We'll follow up with you offline, Francisco.
We'll keep digging.
We'll get it fixed.
Thank you.
Anything else, Francisco?
Well, I mean, no, not at this point. I'm not going to take up everybody's time. Thank you.
Hey, Michael?
Yeah, hi, Mike Rogers, Valley Springs. Just to tag on Francisco's comments, yeah, my meter, and I've spoken to Damon about this as well, but I'm not able to access the real-time data either, and I'm not at the end of the network, so to speak, I don't think, anyway, being here in La Quintina. So I don't know if this is, my understanding is it is communicating, and again, I don't want to dwell on this, Mike, to your point, so, but I think I have an open work order somewhere on this topic. My only concern is that if I don't have access to these alerts and there is a leak or rupture on my side of the meter, then I have the financial exposure for that, correct?
For a water leak on the customer side of the meter, yeah.
Right. So
But
if I don't,
so we'll
so-
dig into this and figure out what's
Yeah.
going on. I didn't realize you had an issue out there too. So we'll
yeah,
look
yeah,
into
I think
both
I
of
have an
them and get it
open,
fixed.
I did call into customer service, Mike, some months ago, and I thought it was being worked on, but I just checked the other day and I've not seen any change in the outcome. But just to follow up briefly on Kevin's presentation, and the service agreement at $3 a pop equates to about $40,000 a year, it sounds like. So in my experience in meter and instrument calibration, I think it's advisable that the board do that, and at least for the first couple of years, to let the vendor help manage this process so that we don't get in a situation where we don't have support or there's issues and recalls or whatever the case may be. I'm sure we have a warranty as well, but I would strongly encourage the board to adopt the service agreement plan as Kevin outlined. Thank you very much.
Okay, is there any other public comment? Anything else from the board before we get a motion?
That service contract, when we approve this, that's included in there for approval, right?
That was
We-
part of the
we got it
original
separate.
project.
Okay.
That was already done. Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to accept AMI.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other comment by the board? Public comment's been had. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Kevin.
Didn't have far to go. Up next.
Been a long journey, Kevin.
Okay, we'll go on to 4B, discussion action regarding acceptance of the top of Cove lift stations. Kevin.
Good afternoon again. So this project, we're gonna highlight a little bit more detail about kind of construction pictures and that type of stuff in our engineering committee tomorrow. But I'm gonna give you overviews, but today we're talking about the completion of the construction of the top of Cove lift stations 6, 8, 15, and 18 renovations, and the lift station 12 and 13 force main bypass. So this project was completed by Mazingo Construction out of Oakdale. The work included replacing 4 lift stations with new modern lift stations and construction of 6,000 linear feet of pressurized sewer force main. So there were some main objectives with the project, and they were kind of, number one was eliminating the underwater crossing of Lake Floyd. So we no longer have a sewer line laying on the bottom of Lake Floyd, so that's a really good thing. The second one is reducing the risk of sewer overflows by creating emergency storage. So these new wet wells have a lot of emergency storage. So if something goes wrong, we're less likely to overflow as quickly. And the third is eliminating the hazard associated with the dry can lift station design. So these dry cans are a very narrow shaft that goes down to the ground, about 30 feet. So they're a confined space. Sometimes there can be hazardous atmospheres down there with the sewer gases, and there's arc flash issues working down in these metal dry cans. And then also the fourth objective was create a lift station where the pumps can be pulled for service. So the dry can pumps are really hard to service. They're down at the bottom of this pole and they can't be pulled. These new ones you can pull up. We built a rail system where they can pull it up, take it off, clean it out, do whatever they need to do to make repairs on it. And the third is moving, or the fifth item is moving the electrical components out of the bottom of these dry cans up into where you can actually do work on it at the surface. So all those were, this project achieved all of the objectives. So the project had a lot of delays with the manufacturing materials due to the post-COVID, that was electrical, the pumps, the wet well materials, piping, all that kind of stuff was delayed with the COVID manufacturing issues. So that pushed our baseline schedule back about a year from what we originally planned on. These were non-compensable delays, so that means we didn't have to compensate the contractor for any delays. It was all kind of out of everybody's control. So Mazinga was a great partner on this project, and we got a really high quality product out of the deal. And so I think staff would be really excited if we got to work with them again.
Thanks.
So the base contract was $7.6 million, and we only had $72,000 in change orders on the project. So that's about 1%. So a project that had numerous changes, a lot of problems with initial plans. It was really good that we were able to bring this project in on that low budget. The total cost of the project, including all the historical costs, engineering, environmental inspection, testing, and permitting, was about $8.3 million. So I think it was a really good, successful project. We still got a few more of these dry cans that need to be replaced. These are some of the major improvements that we needed.
Questions?
Yes.
Well, first of all, under financial considerations, my copy doesn't have a figure for the entire.
$8.6 million. Sorry. I don't know how I got moved on.
0.3.
8.3, that includes the design, environmental inspection, and we have a lot of testing, electrical, manufacturing testing, all that kind of stuff.
How many sewer customers do we have over there?
How many students does it go on?
2,000?
What, 2,000?
Yeah, 2,000. In the whole entire all cover? Yeah.
Well, I'm just.
$4,150 per. I just,
Yeah,
you understand what how the math works out for some of this stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, there's a reason that, you know, our sewer rates are so expensive, but it's, you know, it's cost of projects, you know, more than anything else, lack of customers.
Yeah.
You know, $4,400. I mean, you know, that's not how we pay for this stuff. The whole district, you know, all 5,300 customers, you know, put in their, you know, $1,000 each, you know.
Well, I think
Just
one of the,
important people recognize that.
yeah, one of the biggest benefits was when I heard that we will not have to contend with a broken pipe under Lake Tulloch. That's, you know, I mean, is that wonderful or is that wonderful?
That's huge.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Did that pipe get filled with some cementous material?
No, we cleaned it out, flushed it out, and then plugged both ends of it.
So it's not likely to float up.
Yeah, we were concerned about putting pressurized slurry in there because we were afraid that the line would burst under the pressure. So we thought it was better to flush it out and real good and plug both ends.
So that's a sophisticated engineering term, is real good.
Well, no, we flushed it out and made sure that it was, it was clean. So we
Okay.
jetted it and flushed it repeatedly.
I think that my memory serves me right, that Mazingo had to deal with some questionable engineering information. This is Lee and Rowe design, isn't it, from?
Yeah, I think pretty much redesigned every plan sheet. There was some serious flaws in it.
Yeah, well, I'm surprised we only had $72,000 worth of change orders, because that was.
Yeah, that was a,
I mean, this is really a kind of a watershed event, to coin a phrase here, but we've been talking about this for
years,
6 years now.
years.
It's, I'm glad that it's done.
Well, would you like to make a motion, Director?
I would love to, but we have, yeah, I would make a motion that we approve this lift station 6, 8, 15, 18 renovations and lift station 12, 13 Force Main bypass project CIP, up and up and up and up, ending in 076, as presented by Kevin.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any more comment from the board? Any public comment? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank
I
you.
could
Good
just
work,
make
you
a
guys. Congratulations.
quick comment. If you don't mind, President Davis, I just want to thank staff. I mean, to Director Thomas's point, I think I was on the job about 3 weeks when we did a town hall meeting in Copper for the construction impacts of this project. So it was one of the first construction projects that I got my hands on, and yeah, here that was 6 years ago. As we went through significant redesign, and it just took monumental effort. Mazingo is great to work with, but it took a huge lift from our staff this is a complex project, a lot of moving parts. So Kevin and his team, Jared Grabett was a huge part of this. Damon and the electricians, the operations team. This is a multi-departmental, pretty monumental effort, and there's a lot of our staff that deserve a lot of the credit for bringing this in the way that it came in. It's a really successful project.
It's nice to hear.
All right, are you still up there? Thank you, Kevin. Okay, we'll move on to 4C, discussion action to declare the listed items as surplus and authorize disposal as per surplus policy. Dan?
Good afternoon, directors. So before you is the latest spate of surplus items. We're looking at some ATVs with the 1985, 1994, and 2004 vintage, some vehicle, circa 2000 through 2008, some mag meters, some old ozone generators, and a pull behind weed sprayer. So the ask is that you approve the list of items recognized as surplus and authorize their disposal through the purchasing policy.
Question.
Yeah.
On these that you have listed, do we already have in place their replacements?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Any idea of how much you might net from the sale of all these?
I think Mike does pretty good on public purchase, but I don't know if you have an idea.
Just an approximate, nothing. Nothing.
It all depends. I know that they don't go at like market value.
Right.
To try to get over.
Okay. And so you did say that you already have replacements. We don't have to buy any of these replacements. They're already taken care of.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, I'm good.
Do we, go ahead.
I just wonder if there's a typo on that 2004 F450. It says high mileage and it's listed at 52,900.
I think there's a number missing,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah, I
2
think
or
there's
something. Two.
Like a
maybe.
1, yeah, or 2. Yeah.
2
Yeah.
probably.
Okay,
All the others have
Yeah.
2s for the most part.
so,
And is that the current card policy or is it future card policy that prevents us from,
It's a low minded vehicle, so all the vehicle doesn't move, and that's actually. It's actually the mileage on the vehicle. The vehicle just is low use. It's never been used very much, and it's just It's
Really?
just not being used. It's currently under a low mileage policy. No usage, and we figure a 7.3 diesel with that low mileage for a truck that's not being used, I think we can get a pretty good market value for something that haven't been used.
Got a 7.3 in it?
Yeah. So unfortunately, our, I think the year is 2005, anything that's 2006, anything older than 2006, if it's not, if we don't put it on the low use or low miles program, we can't even run it. And so we put it on that program, it can't exceed 1,000 miles a year or 3,000 miles in, I think it's 2 years, because you can roll over any overage, but you literally have to work in lockstep with the Air Resources Board locally to make sure that those are in compliance. And we usually save those kinds of efforts for like dump trucks, or the F-550 dump trucks, the equipment that gets used more often or more critical to the operation.
On the public purchase, if it's up there, do you have to sell it? Is it like a bidder? No. So, okay. Do we have a policy that says, for instance, that particular truck, it's got low miles, may not work here in California, but somebody in another state might be able to get it? So do we have a policy that says, okay, we paid, $40,000 for it back when? What's the lowest we would take for our policy? On something like with low mileage, somebody from out of state could use that. Sounds like it's a pretty good vehicle, maybe. We just don't use it.
It's something discussed. But
I would assume that there's plenty of folks that live over the state line that
Right.
look into these public vehicles to get them because they know they're gonna go cheaper,
Cheap, yeah.
Yeah.
and still be.
But we don't want to give it away just because we don't use it. I mean, if we can get a little bit more because it's a better vehicle,
That's
every
right.
little bit helps.
Well, for example, we sold Snowcat to somebody in Utah.
Yeah.
For
$5,000 for a snowcat?
Yeah, and we were surprised to get that much.
Oh.
So we have people coming from all.
Yeah, you can have to see.
Oh.
I'm not even sure this diesel, we can even sell it. Because of the low, because of the car also,
Well-
because the guy that to this hat. Look around, I'm not sure if it's, say, somebody will buy it, so.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
You
I think
But-
the public auction website really helps to get the best deal that we can, but if it was, if we didn't get enough bids and we didn't feel like we were getting a fair price for it, we
You
could
could hold
always
off.
hold off and do it
but I
again.
think, you just don't want to give them away.
That's right.
I mean, that's money you guys could use towards other vehicles. You want to buy.
That's absolutely correct. Yeah.
A boom truck.
Do we take a Vibratory roller?
Exactly.
Yeah. Do we utilize the beds or do they not work on new vehicles or?
No, when we can, we will switch out,
Yeah.
we'll switch out cleaning, switch out fuel.
But if you've got a good utility bed on it, that's probably worth more than the cabin chassis. So we'll pull those off once in a while.
We-
Okay.
Use it for parts.
Pardon?
Use it for parts.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're just gonna give them away, if you can't.
All right.
I just have one other question. On that itemized list of expenditures that we approved earlier, that I noticed that there was quite a high amount of money that we paid for weed control. And I can't find it now, but we had a picture of this pull behind weed sprayer.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it looks like it's in great
I-
shape.
Excuse me, we actually have a shorter one. In consideration of agenda items, we are working to resolve that high cost associated with herbicide spraying through certifying folks internally again, that's something we want to facilitate herbicide spraying. Part of that high cost is that we're using it for some.
Right.
Yeah, but we do have a brand new tow behind sprayer and then one that fits in the bed of a pickup truck with armature and you can hook it up to the battery if you pressure, high pressure spray nozzle.
But there's no wisdom in saving this one and getting a Predator motor or something and put on it. So,
I mean, this one's been out of the field for,
I mean, this one hasn't been used since I've been here, I think in almost 10 years, it hasn't been looked at.
Wow.
So
Probably not in good shape.
What's that yard look like? Got a lot of weeds?
Just around it.
Yeah, this,
And a deeper problem here now.
I think it's just, we have plenty.
Okay, all right.
All right, well, can I get a motion to approve the
I'll make a motion.
listed surplus? We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion by the board? Any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Damon.
On a bit of loss.
We can get you the truck, I couldn't just store it on.
All right, Damon, you want to go ahead with your report?
Yeah,
Oh, no, I'm sorry, approve the budgeted purchase of a vibratory roller.
yep, absolutely. Thank you, President Davidson. Yeah, so this next item is a request to approve the purchase of a budgeted item, which is a vibratory roller, asphalt roller. A lot of folks call them. The district has deployed a roller on a multitude of jobs since I've been here. All of the road repair projects that were FEMA funded projects, we rented a vibratory roller. I mean, you guys know how big the yard in Copperopolis and West Point is. And a lot of those roads are base rock, so they're in need of continual improvement. And this will help in that effort. It's estimated we use a roller about 5 months out of the year. So we're looking at, in consideration of the monthly rental, around $5,300 a month. The payback is about 3.8 years. We can use it on other projects other than roads. We can make pads when we need to set up tough sheds or when we need to set up a building for whatever reason. We can use this for compaction, and it's just an all-around well-used tool.
What's the life expectancy of this equipment?
I would think we could at least get 15 years out of this roller.
How big is it?
I'm not sure on the size of the one, actually, let me look.
Do we have a picture of it?
Size.
Less than half the price of the new
3.4
one.
liter engine. I think this is like the middle of the road size of vibratory roller. It's not the really big one, but it's not small. We got a lot of work. It's pretty versatile.
Because we used to get really upset when we had to pay for the rental of that one from Old. It was just,
Yeah.
over and over and over again. So
Yes.
this is well worth
Makes
it.
me think of Marshawn Lynch. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more. So
We have equipment to tow it,
we do. Yeah, we do. We have trailers.
so I saw we just got rid of a trailer as well, so.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah.
Perfectly good trailer, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah. I knew you were going to say that.
All right, I don't believe this is gonna be controversial. Can I get a motion for acceptance?
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. You can put Russ's name on this one.
Oh, great. Oh,
Thank
he would
Any public
move.
comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Damon.
Next time we ought to have a picture of it, though.
Yeah.
I didn't see any, huh?
Understood. Yeah, great point. Yep, we'll do the picture.
All right, January 2025 operations report.
Yes. Okay. So, we're kicking the year off. So the mobile MMS dashboard doesn't have kind of the month over month stats. It's really got the first month stats. What's really interesting, as you all can imagine, when we look at the dashboard and talk about statistics associated with the field work, check for leak is right there at the top with the number of closed service requests, which is 38. And what was interesting is as I was screen capturing this information and printing it out on the last day of the month, the work orders for check for leak went from 29 to 32. So the customer service representatives are updating this and pushing out work orders, and it's getting incorporated in the dashboard kind of as I'm printing the information. So this is kind of the month over month, or the information throughout the month that as you see us go through the next, 11 months, it'll change if you look at this information. So this won't be one just giant block of, check for leak service requests. There are going to be other items that are incorporated in there. And you can see this one is, I believe this is mechanical, 33 work orders for the mechanics in the month of January. They took the cake for the most work orders out in the field, which is great. And then repair was followed closely. And then PM work orders behind us. And then we had, this is kind of the breakdown of all of the different types of work orders. So 40 repairs. And then we had some preventative maintenance work orders and a whole host of other different categories. We had 78 USAs in the month of January. Most of those up on its past with 30. And then kind of just to, jump into the fray again when we talk about production versus consumption and water loss. You can see this is the totalized production for all of our 6 water systems versus all of the consumption for those 13,000 water meters. We're still working to understand why the peaks and valleys, what effect they have. As you can imagine, treatment plants often will raise tank levels based on work efforts, or if we anticipate a storm, or if there's going to be some project that's going to get implemented in order to increase the capacity or the source of supply of water for folks. So, and then we go through system by system, and you have a range of water loss between 18% and 39%. But not all of that is based on actual water loss. And so part of the effort is to better understand the data. So we don't have garbage in, garbage out. We have more of a reliable data set. One fact remains, the AMI data is really reliable and really helpful. So the production side is one of the items that we need to work on next. And, I think Kevin.
Just, Damon, how do we measure the production?
So that's the effluent flow meter that leaves the treatment plant. So
When's the last time you changed that?
Well, we calibrate them annually, verify their calibration annually. Yeah. We haven't changed them in some time. Well, I take that back. Some of them we have, some of them we haven't. But we
And
can,
that technology is still current?
yes, and we can adjust. So if it's got a deviation in it, we can adjust it. So even when it's coming out in SCADA, it's accurate. So if it's like 3% off, that electrician's been adjusted in SCADA, so our operators aren't having to do the math. It's doing it itself. Yep. So, Kevin's really, I think, he's got his best foot forward when it comes to the CIP, which has a huge component. It is a huge component when it comes to addressing water loss. And so I'm just jumping through the production versus consumption numbers. You can see that the electricity system is really tight here. And then the copper Cove system is the one that has the most uniformly broad water loss. So, but we don't feel necessarily that that's actually a reality. So more research and then more information will actually help us better understand what's going on.
Would you believe that up at Hunters, it has to do with all of the work we've been doing with our water system up there?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so that's why I bring up Kevin and his CIP, because projects have a direct impact on water loss.
Because we've been to 3 and 1 and
Right.
whatever.
Yes,
projects.
and everyone has felt the pain, but the benefit is illustrated in, yeah,
No, that's great
yeah, we're pretty happy.
for Hunters. Yeah.
Yeah. So diving into the classic, starting in Rancho Calaveras, this is an interesting one. So this is part of the Genuine A to B project. When those folks potholing, they want to put a new water main in the ground. They're going to find infrastructure that we don't know exists. And so this is one of those cases. There's a 2-inch line that is charged with a valve on it that our folks are still working to understand where it terminates. We don't know where it ends. So this is some of the work that our distribution guys find themselves in the midst of after they're checking pressure reducing valves, receiving service requests, responding to low pressure calls or whatnot, researching where this 2-inch water line goes, drilling the holes in it, trying to see where the water comes from and testing it to understand what happens. And that's what often is the result of a project. But these are direct examples that yield to a reduction in water loss. Because if for some reason that line, which we didn't know existed, had a leak on it and we fix it, that's a direct, correlation between the work that CIP projects do and a reduction in water use. Not only replacing obvious leaky pipes. Excuse me. Jump right into service line replacing, we continue in the Rancho Calaveras area. This is our dog meat. Replacing a service, you know, the image on the right is kind of the finished product, really clean, just a little bit on the edge of the asphalt and some base rock there in the grass there. New service install, so you can see a tap of the water main, no tap on the left and then a tap on the right with the service line leaving and the corp stop on Henny. And then the really clean work kind of at the end, finished product, the meter box and the trench, you didn't even know it was there. Jumping in, this is a great one. So we had some conversation earlier about fire protection,
Right.
where we have fire hydrants and in the fire protection districts, our Ebbets Pass distribution crew worked with the Ebbets Pass Fire Department to conduct a training for their cadets or their interns, they call them, on the proper operation of the fire hydrant at the Ebbets Pass Fire Station #1. So you can see our supervisor up on the pass, Joe Darby, and Bill Heinley here, a distribution worker, talking to the interns about how to operate the hydrant. And then they ran through kind of the CCWD deep insight on hydrant operation and then let the interns take turns doing the work. And so it was a great afternoon. We talked about the system in general. We were able to compare notes with the fire captains. 850 fire hydrants were inspected and tested on behalf of the Fire District 4 CCWD up on the pass.
Just on the pass?
Just on the pass, yeah. And that work was completed in last month. And so hats off to them. I want to say we have 6, it's in the distribution system ops report. I'm going to say we have 6 out of service hydrants in Ebbets Pass out of 850. So we talked about how the system operates. We showed them, you know, where the tank sites are, how the treatment plant runs, and really want to just give them a better understanding of the system overall, and then work together in all of the fire protection districts to have kind of a symbiotic relationship with understanding the water system. And that's the tipping our cap to everything that's gone on, you know, since back from the Butte fire. So we're in lockstep with firefighters.
Good.
So hats off to those guys that did a great job. Then they jump in and they do things like this, which is repair a service line on fairways. And you can see it was 2 holes, 2 potholes, and then it looks like issues at the corp stop on the main and a new section of service line and then a shark bite connection to the existing line. And then maintenance on PRVs. PRVs are continually filling up with water. So in some of these pictures, you see us dewatering them, and then you see the guys actually drilling holes in the bottom of the vaults to try to get them to drain out. Mixed results on that one. But you can see the image on the right, cleaning off the top of the clay valve, getting all that debris.
I would think the water might come up.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does. Lift station cleanup in West Point. The image on the right is a 2-inch coming off the lift station pump. So it's pressurized septic tank effluent, which is pumped through that pipe that had to be repaired. And then while the guys are there, while Doug is there, the distribution supervisor, he goes ahead and cleans up the parking lot, the roof, and makes it a nice presentable lift station. Sometimes lift stations can get a little self-conscious because they smell so bad. It's really nice.
Yes.
And then this is just a reminder to protect your piping up on the pass. Folks install a backflow and they don't adequately protect it from the weather, and it blows up and you end up with a bunch of ice sentences and call out for residents. And then, you know, when the guys aren't out fixing leaks or installing service lines, they're doing things like this, fixing aged equipment on the diesel tank at West Point. And this interesting one, you know, when folks accidentally put a burn pile on top of their water meter, our guys are on the spot to replace the meter box and the lid, and the customer can gratefully live to burn another day. Yeah, that was an interesting one. And our electricians are always.
I'd like to send that one into Farmers Insurance. What do you mean your house burned down? Where'd you start the fire? Oh, my water meter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the image on the left is an indication of what it looks like when the transducer starts to fail. You see this nice solid flat line, and all of a sudden you just see this up, down, up, down, up, down, at a point where it looks like a giant maroon bar, and that's a failing transducer. So our electricians can identify that, and then they can upgrade the logic in the PLC, which is the image on the right called ladder logic, to address the issue. So they can physically go fix it. They can also attenuate it through the PLC. And so they do great work. Here's a B tank pressure system in Rancho, checking voltage on this is a small pressure system up at the top of the world, so to speak, at B tank. You can see all over. And the guys do great work. And then this should say flow meter install. You know, I got overzealous looking at my photograph of the flow meter HMI there, and then a good old fashioned chart report. So these are still in use in Calaveras County Park. The construction crew cleaned up the roadway down to Bear Creek. This has been a conversation, an annual conversation about Bear Creek and the fact that it's inundated with these storms. And so more great work by them. You can see it just looks like park every time they get out of there. And FEMA is appreciative of their work as well. And then right here in the back at the main courtyard, the construction crew and Mike and Eric Martinez, our facilities maintenance staffer, and our mechanics work together to clean up the yards out here and reorganize the material. It looks fabulous. They moved some rail cars, they graded it, they leveled it. Just the roller right there. Yes, yeah, yes. Oh, there it is. Yeah, right. Yeah, there it is.
That's covered.
Yeah, you see it. Yeah, thanks, Pat. And then this is, hats off, we talk about our mechanic periodically. There's a Rotorque valve actuator that works for the MBR facility at Vallecito. And it's quite an expensive valve, and we purchased a new one, and it's kind of the heart of Vallecito's MBR facility. And there was an issue with placing it on top of the valve. And so our mechanics built this extender to allow us to connect the actuator and the valve. You can see the image on the right, that extender in use, and actually keep us in action and keep us operating. So they do great work.
That's amazing that they
Yeah.
can do stuff like that,
Yeah,
That's
they-
real important.
Yeah, it's really important.
It's a real
And then
benefit.
This is a picture of the water truck that was approved last month. So forgot the roller, but I remembered the water truck.
That just looks like a truck.
Yes.
All right, any questions for Damon?
Nice pics.
The driver of that water truck, has he been trained how to knock down all the grading stakes and stuff? That's off the website.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damon, are you listening to how major this storm is supposed to be tonight? Any special things you've done?
Absolutely. So we're tracking the storm. Our mechanics have been out all day checking all generators and check the fuel, and everybody is prepping their facilities. Just to get a call on.
Look at the sky over there.
I better.
That's Bear Mountain.
We have our.
That's Bear Mountain. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm hoping. I have, this day, 2017 is indelibly imprinted in my brain from an atmospheric river storm. And then it was like 2010 or February 10th the next year, February 12th, the year after that. It's like,
oh,
so these few days, it's kind of like, man,
Never know.
I'm on edge.
but you're ready.
It's ready.
And
You're ready. Yeah.
you and the crew are ready, and that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're ready. Yeah.
Any other questions for Damon? Any public comment questions for Damon? Okay, thank you, Damon. We'll move
Thank you,
on to
Damon.
general manager's brief report.
Brief report, but if you remember at the last board meeting, we had a tight time schedule, so I didn't give a report at all.
You're gonna make up for it?
So, just get comfortable and, get some popcorn if you need it. No, I'll still
I
try
would
to be
like
quick. I have a couple of really exciting announcements. The first, Director Thomas stole my thunder a little bit already, but just want to acknowledge Kevin again, our new district engineer. Kevin has been the workhorse of we're one of the workhorses, but of our engineering department for 5 years now, Kevin. Just a huge, really important part of our team, and just absolutely ready for this opportunity. We were all really impressed in the interview process, what his insights are for the engineering department. So just really excited for Kevin and for where he is going to take the engineering department. So.
It's nice that you hired from within.
Yeah, we always look for those opportunities. I think a majority of our management team now is promoted from within.
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. But not our manager of water resources. That's a good segue, because we can't always promote from within. And so I want to introduce Andrew Renshaw, who's here today. Started 10 days ago now, I guess. So Monday of last week was his first day. And so since Kevin, the board has met Kevin before, but Andrew, if you wouldn't mind, just come up and say hi, and maybe just a real brief where you came from and a quick introduction.
Yes,
Yep.
please.
Yes. Yeah, pleasure to meet you all.
Turn the mic on for this.
Pleasure to meet you all. Sorry, getting the
Third
logistics
time.
figured out here. Yeah, so I'm Andrew Renshaw. I was not hired within, coming from, after working 8 years at the state. First,
DWR.
first at the State Water Board, and then a handful of years at the Department of Water Resources, working in the Sigma groups for both those entities. Prior to that, I was a field hydrogeologist, so constructing and designing high yield production wells for municipalities. I'm a licensed geologist, certified hydrogeologist. So groundwater is kind of my expertise, but after working in Sigma for so many years, you kind of learn to love it all. So I'm very excited to be here, and I'm excited to learn about kind of managing headwaters community and watershed, and how that ties into the folks downstream. So thanks for having me.
Great, welcome.
Where do you live?
I live in Orangeville, so just outside of Folsom.
Sacramento? Oh, Folsom. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to commute.
Yeah, so it's not so bad.
Cool. Well, welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. I'm gonna put you on the spot there, but appreciate it. And yeah, just really excited for what the expertise Andrew brings to our team, and he's already picking it up really quickly, and so very optimistic. When it's nice to have a fully staffed management team again.
Yeah.
So.
Be sure to head up the hill. We have other.
And in fact, Director Underhill, we were just talking about that today. So, we have to kind of wade into this stuff incrementally, but we were just talking about the Ebbets Pass system and the Stanislaus water rights today. And that was one of Andrew's questions, was I'd like to get up there and see that. And I said,
Yeah, we're
absolutely,
only
we got to make that
39
happen.
miles up there. But that's, only take an hour.
I grew up skiing on Bear Valley.
Okay, then. Come and see, it hasn't changed.
All right, thank you, Andrew. So a few other updates. Kelly Gerkensmeyer and I attended a meeting that CSDA set up with Assemblymember Tangipa recently. He's our newly elected Assembly member. And I think I can speak for Kelly that we were both really impressed at his enthusiasm, his engagement, his understanding of some really challenging issues such as homeowners insurance and wildfire wildfire protection for our communities, and even had some understanding of some FERC relicensing stuff. Really just refreshing discussion, and really optimistic about him and working with him as we get to know him better. I think a really important effort we should probably talk about more, and you'll be hearing more about it. And I think an agenda item in the near future is forthcoming on this. So the Calaveras River Watershed Resiliency Plan effort is underway. This is one of 5 pilot programs in the state. The Calaveras River was one of 5 that were selected for DWR to embark on this new planning effort. Heard it described recently as IRWM 2.0. So it's a different approach to comprehensive watershed planning. We really owe a debt of gratitude to Stockton East Water District as with the sort of the champion to secure the grant and to get this watershed into the program as one of the 5 pilot programs. And then they've done a really good job of, essentially partnering with us on the project from the outset. And so we're sort of the headwaters representative, partnered with Stockton East as the downstream representative on the Calaveras. And we hosted a meeting here last week where we invited interested parties from around the community. Our former director, Bob Dean, was there representing the RCD. And several other agencies, local agencies were there to hear about the program and for us to solicit input from them. So we'll be rolling something out for the board here soon too, where we describe in more detail what the planning effort is and how we can have input on the process. We're still learning as we go through it and still learning what the implications of the plan are and how DWR anticipates implementation is a big question for us. So we're proceeding with caution, but really glad to be a part of the initial phases of this new approach to watershed planning in California. So like I said, we'll have an agendized item on that in the near future. We have engineering committee tomorrow, and that's going to be a good one. Obviously, we're in budget development season, so we'll be discussing the capital improvement program in great detail at tomorrow's engineering committee meeting, finance committee next week, and so looking forward to both of those. Let me just check my list from the last meeting to see. We had a lot of other updates. Oh, I do want to mention what's called the level 2 risk assessment review was recently completed for our North Fork project, specifically for Spicer, the dam at Spicer Reservoir. Our engineer Juan Maya was there for the whole, I think it ended up being 8 or 9 business days. Pretty intense, very intense effort to really review the first time FERC has the first time looking at Spicer since FERC rolled out new guidelines. So this is part of the Part 12 assessment, which is done every 5 years. But they've implemented these new guidelines to take an even deeper look, and even going back to the original construction drawings of dams to potentially try to identify where any flaws were, and then looking at the performance of the dam in great detail, trying to come up with any scenario that could possibly cause dam failure and any mitigation that's required to address those things. So very intensive, close look at Spicer Reservoir. The good news is it's in great shape. It was well designed and well built, and so they had a hard time breaking it. But it was a very good process that it was at NCPA's office in Murphy's. I was there for the first couple of days, and Juan was there for the duration of it.
Because if I remember correctly, when they came to look at Spicer the last time, they even came down along the front of the dam to look for any possible failure.
Yeah, this time we even did what they call the rim inspection, which looks like just a bunch of people out in a party barge cruising around the lake. But what we're actually doing is inspecting the rim of the reservoir to see if there's any potential trigger, like if it was a landslide or an earthquake that causes a rock fall or anything that could cause a potentially significant wave to overtop the dam and create and cause damage on the downstream side of the dam. So it's that level of detail.
Okay, but as I say, it was looking at the, coming
Right.
over the side all the way down to the bottom.
We did that as well. Yeah, so we walked, this was a couple months ago. The first part of it was the physical inspection, the on-site inspection, where we walked up and down the groins of the dam, deep, very close inspection of the whole dam, both sides and the rim of the reservoir. And then this was the follow-up workshop that was, a bunch of engineers trying to figure out ways that the dam could potentially fail and how to mitigate that. CPPA board met recently. Unfortunately, those power rates are going back up. We anticipated this. We knew we had a little bit of a temporary reprieve this year, and but rates, sure enough, are going back up to where they were before. So pretty significant increase. We're at 12 cents right now, going back up to 20 where it was last year.
Uh-oh.
What's the reason?
PG&E distribution charges is the main driving factor there. That I think pretty much wraps up my updates.
Michael, do you know why they didn't just have the IRWMs do what you and what we're
Yeah,
doing with the
it's a
watershed?
great question.
Because we did so much, I don't know why they're establishing a whole nother thing. I mean, I have an idea, but I won't say why because it wouldn't be nice.
Yeah, you might, I was gonna say, you might have some insight on that. Yeah, I think it, DWR has been sort of shifting away from the IRWMs. There was the funding included for them in Prop 4, so they're not going away entirely, but it's a really good question that I don't fully know the answer to yet. We actually were just talking about this in our Aqua Region 3 board meeting yesterday. And we may be developing a program for conference on this question that we might put that to somebody from DWR to help us understand that
Well,
deeper.
the one good thing I noticed, because I checked that, the announcement you sent us, I believe they have a time frame of 1 year before you have answers, come up with the plan, right?
There is a schedule for the
Yeah.
development of the plan, but then it's
Instead of
really,
it just going on for years and years, like
yeah.
a lot of stuff.
But then there's still questions about implementation, and so there's, like I said, we're learning as we go, as I suppose is to be expected for a pilot program. But there are still some questions that we don't fully have the answer
I
to.
mean, the way I think about it with the IRWM, they already have the people in place. It's like if they would have just given a grant for a couple of IRWMs to participate, they already have good people. They wouldn't have had to, I see it as not really reinventing the wheel, but sort of, you have a good group of people there. And I don't understand why they didn't utilize that, but.
Yeah,
they do.
I think,
I mean, I'm glad that
when-
I can participate,
yeah,
but
I think it's a great question. So when we bring this back, and I think I'm going to see if I can schedule it when Justin Hopkins from Stockton East can be here too. And we'll take a closer look at it and maybe see if we can dive into that question a little bit
Well,
more. It's a great question.
at this point, it's done.
Yeah.
It just, what's the reasoning, I guess?
Yeah.
Any other directors have any questions for general manager?
Not at this time.
I see, Francisco, I saw you had your hand up there. I'm not sure when if you were on Damon's or if you're on Michael's, but if you're there, let us know what's up. Not there.
We can't hear you, Francisco, if you're talking.
We'll move on. Okay,
Sorry, operator error, sorry.
so, okay. All right, so now we'll go on to the all-important board reports, information, and future agenda items. Director Underhill?
Oh, yes. One of the things that I came up with, okay, it's, we're all waiting for the storm uphill, but, so is everybody else. I came up with a couple of things, and I was wondering, had CCWD ever considered doing sponsorship of anything for an aqua convention? You know, because CCWD stands for, as far as they're concerned, Contra Costa Water District.
Right.
Yeah, you know,
Or
Hey,
Central
hey,
Coast Water
guys.
District.
Yeah.
Central Coast.
Yeah,
Huh?
there's a couple of CCWDs out there.
yeah, yeah. So that, you know, I want our name.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think the best way for us to do that is rather than pay for a sponsorship is just continue, our involvement as staff and directors and showing up and representing the district. Damon is vice chair of Energy Committee now. We have
Yeah, that-
Aqua staff that are, filling different roles and different capacities at Aqua, and board members also. I think that's the most effective way to get the word out. I mean, I think
Certainly, I understand that, but if there were ever just one opportunity for a flash, sponsorship of some kind, let's go for it. That was my recommendation.
okay.
Well, Bertha, you're the only director I've ever heard who got a shout out, Dave Egerton, in the middle of a crowded breakfast.
Well, anyway, and then I have another thing to bring up. Looking around this room, there aren't not, except for Jeff. There are not.
Some people? What?
I just have to announce that yesterday, my fiance and I got a marriage license, so it's for real now. And
I thought you were gonna say got married yesterday.
And I don't know, that's why I'm mentioning about Jeff.
I'm not.
You don't, you don't,
That's
you don't,
news to me. Don't
you
worry.
don't remember, the installation of all the SCADA systems, do you?
Sure.
Okay, that was my fiance.
For the
Oh,
North Fork,
yeah.
project, right?
Pardon?
For the North Fork project,
No, SCADA.
right?
Yeah, well, I don't know what it was specifically. If it is SCADA.
That's what his career was.
Uh-huh. He's an electrical engineer. Doug Murray is his name, and you'll be hearing that name a lot. Because I'll be.
Because you'll be married.
And so that's it.
All right. Well, that's exciting news. It's gonna be tough to beat, Cindy.
I really don't have anything to say.
Are you gonna keep the Underhill?
Fred and I are repeating our vows. 12 years.
I would,
No, because think of the
let's not-
acronym.
Let's
Yeah.
not break into chaos here now.
Yes, so, I don't really have a whole lot to report. It's been really quiet, for the most part. But, I did want to ask Damon, about the fire hydrants. Would it be possible to put in your dashboard, in your report, just like by district, how many fire hydrants aren't serviceable? I mean, I don't, in the fire season, that might be really important for people to know, or I don't know, I'm just kind of curious, like in my district, how many aren't working? Do I need to get on you to make sure they get working, kind of a thing? Maybe
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be there. I don't know.
Well, it's there and it's passed, so I kind of give all the distribution crews kind of their own license on how they want to characterize their system in the operations report. But we can actually, it's no problem to include
Okay.
number of hydrants out of service. This is the hydrant work that was completed this month in each, yeah, no problem.
And, yeah, congratulations to Kevin and, our new hire in the water resources. That's pretty cool, Andrew. And that's it.
how much time do
None.
I'm not sure how much time we've got. What, Russ, what are we talking about?
No, just for this report. I mean, that could take a long time. No, I'm gonna come back from the Aqua meeting in Washington DC with a briefcase full of report for you. So
Great, thank you.
you good? And then I'll,
What though?
I'll add- I'll add-
Because I think you should have something
Well,
about
that's- yeah,
what happened,
yeah.
especially DC. I mean, that's kind of interesting
But
than others.
preferably in the form of hard currency in that
Foreign
briefcase.
currency, anyway, I'm looking forward to attending that and seeing if the mood is still upbeat in Washington DC, like it was when we were there last time. Bertha had a report on some personal stuff. I had this cataract replaced yesterday. I have a completely new outlook on the world. So
Replace or remove?
replace,
A
replace.
cataract?
Yeah, new lens.
Oh, well, say it like that for me, would you?
And
Wow.
and one of the surprising things about that, and any of you feel like that you ought to go see your ophthalmologist, but I can close, this is the new lens here. I can close my right eye and this paper is super bright white. I can close this eye and it's washed out almost brown. So,
Really?
yeah, so I
Huh.
I was looking through some pretty dirty lens over here. So, but that's, take my word for it. You'll be glad that you did it.
Yeah, I can imagine how they would. Do it.
Oh, no, it's a piece of cake. I had a brief conversation with Damon, and this kind of falls into the future agenda items. The discussion we had about the red fuel, the diesel fuel, that you said you were going to talk to your operations folks and engineering and whatnot. But particularly with all this new equipment that we've purchased that are diesel powered, I used to buy red fuel when I was wearing my contractor hat. It's a fairly significant savings on the road tax. And I think it would be worthwhile. And we talked about this 5 or 6 years ago, and I was convinced then, or the people here convinced me that the cost of complying or incorporating this monitoring the red fuel was more costly than what we would be saving, really. But I don't know, it sort of came to my attention when we were talking about this $100,000 roller. That's got to have a 40 gallon diesel tank. And we just should look at that, just. So,
Fuel tank in the courtyard there, 3,000 gallon fuel tank. We had a meeting about how we're going to deploy it. It's going to be white gas, it's going to be diesel, red diesel. And yeah, understood. Yeah.
Working
we'll
on it.
definitely review that. Yeah.
okay, so that's a report that ought to come back to the whole board, I would suggest, so that we can stamp it. Okay, that concludes my report for now.
Okay. All right, well, I don't have anything social or medical to report. I'll work on it for next meeting. But I did notice something that I saw that I kind of wish we had the opportunity to participate in, and it's I think it's Calaveras Republican party is putting on something at Angels Camp regarding the reaction to fire, and I think it's coming up at the end of the month. I don't know if anybody saw anything of that, but the Cal OES guy is going to speak, and then somebody from the City of Angels. But I just wonder if we should make an inquiry, because clearly we have more to do with the countywide reaction to fire than everybody except probably CAL FIRE. So I think that there might be an opportunity for us to find out. They didn't really show much of their agenda, but the only two speakers that I saw was the Cal OES, the new guy from the Calaveras County, and then it might have been mayor or somebody from Angels Camp. But I think that there's an opportunity. It's at Greenhorn. So maybe that's something we could look into. Other than that, I have nothing to add.
Can I respond to what you just said? When you find out about the date of that, because I mentioned it's going to be open to the public.
I just saw it, yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'd like
just
to
saw
know
it
about that. I might want to attend that.
I just saw it pop up like in the last day
Yeah.
or two. But I think
Yeah.
it's actually coming up towards the end of the month, so.
Yeah, Michael, if you get that info, if you could send it out to all of us, I know I'd like to go.
Well, the one thing, I mean, we people keep acting like we haven't been addressing this. We addressed it hard last year. I mean, I requested a Damon to give us, what are the ratings that ISO ratings, and the difference and the progress that we've made over the past few years. I mean, that should be, something that's out there. I know we've published it. It's significant. We've made significant progress on those ratings. And while they're not directly related to the insurance issues, they are somewhat. And, I think the public
Yeah.
does need to know
I agree.
the work that we've been doing, and it's been significant. It hasn't been something that we've been sweeping under the rug. Far from it. We've put it out front. for several reasons. One, we have, catastrophic wildfires are probably biggest threat in the county.
Yeah.
Plus we have the insurance, the homeowner insurance crisis going on, and to whatever level that we can address that, we need to.
I agree. Yep.
Anyway,
That's it.
give that a shot. All right, so, what's that?
Public.
Okay, I don't know that we're supposed to have public comment about director's comments, but go ahead, Francisco.
Just wanted to thank you for that announcement, Jeff. We're going to be attending there. I think it's on the 23rd, but I would confirm the Republican thing. But,
Okay, great.
I was wondering about what happened to the CCWD property subcommittee ad hoc work.
So the committee still is meeting, but where we're going to report out, I think we were shooting for March, a report out on the progress that we've made there. So stand by, future agenda item coming.
Great, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, we're gonna adjourn into closed session with conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, conference with legal counsel pending litigation, and government code 54957, agency negotiations, general manager and HR manager Stacy Lawler. Is there any public comment on our proposed closed session? Okay, seeing none, we'll take a short break and we'll go into closed session. Thank you.